Hey, everybody. We are live at Children's Hope in St. Louis, Missouri. We're back for one of our post adoption services live Facebook events. And with me now is Jennifer, who is another adoptive mom. I'm Dawn Meadows Dixon. I'm an adoptive mom of two girls. Jennifer has two children.
Yes, I do.
Ages
Lily, 16 and 19, Lily and Emma.
Lily and Emma, and my daughters are Isabella and Olivia. And today we're going to be talking about the one-child policy and how this affected our children when they were younger and how it's changed now that they're of age. Teenagers, 20s, and we're also beginning a new Facebook Live event where we ask Melody questions. Melody from Children's Hope. She's here now. We're going to go in the other room and talk to her about the one-child policy because some 82,000 children have come from China since the 80s because of the one-child policy in China, and we all became adoptive moms because of it.
Because of that, it was a blessing. And now that the girls are older, they have a different level of understanding. So they don't really understand how government can say, what do you mean you can only have one child?
One child. So we're going to get some answers from Melody as to how the government did that and how they've now changed. Now they allow people to have two children. So we're going to go in the other room. Come with us. Jennifer and I are going to walk and talk here, and hopefully you will give you a chance to join us here. One thing we were talking about is the issue of one child when they were kids.
Yes,
babies.
It was like a fairy tale. We used to say, oh, you wanted your tummy mommy, my tummy's broke, so China gave me a heart mommy, isn't that so great? But as they've gotten older, the fairy tale doesn't answer their hard questions like, what do you mean there's only one, you can only have one child?
Right. And so Melody is here. Hello. There she is. And this is the beginning of our new Facebook Live event, Ask Melody. The first question of this event is one-child policy, trying to make some clarity in that question for our children who are teenagers and now in our 20s. So we're going to go on in.
Yes,
Take a seat. We've got some pictures to show you because these are Jennifer's children. And maybe Jennifer can tell us.
Yes, this is Emma Grace Young Zhao. She was 9 months when we got her, and that's Emma today. And then this is our oldest, Lily Xinyue Petrowski. Now with Lily, she was 2 months old before her birth mother gave her up. She was found at the gates of the orphanage in Henan. And now Lily is a thriving freshman at University of Kentucky.
Oh, and that's wonderful.
And these are beautiful. Now, I do not have pictures of my children, so next time I'll be bringing those.
And Jennifer, you did ask the children permission to talk
I
about
did.
them and show the picture, right?
Yes,
that's quick. That's quick. We
they
want to
always
respect them. Yeah.
They always feel that. I used to say when Lily was little, "Can Mama tell your story?" And she said, "As long as it helps other girls get adopted."
That's good.
Okay, so we want to thank Brandy, who's with us, and May Keith. Brandy asks, what is this live event about? So we're going to reiterate. Okay. This is about the one-child policy in China and how to explain this to our adoptive children. And Melody from Children's Hope is here, and she's going to talk about that because even as a parent, I don't know about you, Jennifer, but I struggle with, I too say, how could a country do this? And we were sharing our stories earlier. You said a little bit about what you told your kids.
Yeah, I told them, that the government made the rule and the government monitors the rule and that they could lose their house maybe. And it was just a rule. And Emma came back to me and said, but Mom, like the government here wouldn't do that. Like there's not a full comprehension or a real understanding on how the government could be in these people such a personal decision and affect these families.
Yeah, for me, we want to help our children even after they are grown. So when I talked to some of our adoptees, and this was one of the questions, what in the world will make a mother give up a child, a baby several days old, 1 month old? Like they just cannot understand that. And that, I think that has a lot,
like a black hole almost.
That's a lot of hurt. That adds a lot of hurt. So I think I would like to answer this question and then make it real to people here. Maybe not that easy, but I will try because it's totally different culture and a different time. And like a lot of things, like we put it on the Facebook today, right? The slogans, and when Jennifer read it, I can tell her heart just like, what is that?
Like these
Believe it or not,
slogans,
yeah,
right.
believe it or not, those slogans back then, when I was in China, it all made sense to me.
Okay, you need to say, for those of us who didn't see the slogans, what did they
It's on
say?
the page right now.
Okay, it's on the page right
Yeah.
now, but give us an example.
First of all, like, I'm sorry, let me get the note. The one-child family planning policy started in 1980. 1980, when there was a letter from Communist Party in China saying we suggest one couple, one child. That was the beginning of the one-child family planning policy.
Now, you
And
made a
then-
really interesting comment there. We suggest, but were they really suggesting
No,
or
no.
telling?
Beginning, it was suggesting. I was born in the 60s. My baby brother was born in 1969, and we had three. He was number three. And I remember my parents told me they actually prefer us not to have three. But it's still allowed in 1969. So in the 70s, it was two, the best. And then in 80s, they suggest or getting more and more strict about one only. So in 1981, March 6th, there was one government organization established called Family Planning Committee. That's equal to a ministry. It's very, very powerful, that committee. And then in 1982, in one of the party meeting, actually 12th Chinese Communist Party meeting, family planning policy became the basic government or country policy. It's one of the main policy for the entire country.
Now, we have people asking, it's not true anymore. They've now changed it to 2 children. The one-child policy ended 2015.
2015, October 29th, 2015, on the 18th Communist Party meeting, they changed it to one couple, 2 children. So family planning policy is not officially ended. It changed to 2.
2.
Yeah. So the government still control of how many children each family should have.
You know, and that's so hard for us to accept as Americans because, and for our children, because for the government to say, you must do this, you must do this, for the good of the people, for the good of your country, is beyond anything we can understand. So as someone who is a Chinese citizen, and we look to you as an expert, how do you wrap your brain around the fact the government can tell you how many kids you can have?
It didn't happen right away. You know,
Slowly.
China is a country, or Chinese people are used to being controlled by an emperor, then by one party country. It was always like that. It was always like, so you are used to be told all kinds of things, right? This is just one of them, but it didn't happen right away. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of propaganda started. They tell you what is the best, what is best, right? So by the year 1980, the talk or the media always like have story about so many children, so many people. We are going to
Like the crowding and the housing, there's not
we're
enough
going
room.
to run out of our resources. And then more and more the government talk about, if we do family planning, we'll be better off. If we don't do it, we'll be just totally fail.
Now we've got one person, Lori has just joined us, and she says, my adopted daughter appreciates that she was saved by us. Now, as an adoptive mom, I'm just going to, all due respect to Lori, I never really wanted my children to feel like I saved them. How do you feel
agree.
about that, Jennifer?
I really agree with that. I never wanted them to feel like I saved them. I really felt God was in our life, and the red thread, I love the story of the red thread that is going to connect. And since I couldn't have children, I really believed that God put us together because I wanted a baby and that baby wanted a mama. So I feel like God saved us both, but I never
Right.
wanted my kids to
Yeah.
feel that.
It's okay, you know.
It's
I
okay to
always-
say
I
that.
always
Yeah,
want
and
to
Lori-
say, whatever our children feel is right. Let them
And
feel
whatever
that
the
way.
adoptive mom, if that worked
Yes.
with her children,
Exactly.
I used to say,
Yes.
you saved me. I mean, my husband used to say, I was the sad daddy before you came around because I wanted to be a daddy and I couldn't be. So now Lori just said something else, and this is a great question. She said, I thought abortion was illegal in China, and yet what I heard and what I have since found out, there were not only abortions, but forced abortions is what I've heard.
Yes,
Sterilizations.
forced abortion came with this one-child family planning policy.
And
After-
the advertising for it, like I was shocked today.
I know,
Melody
yeah.
shared with me that around schools, on buses, they said it's cheap, it's easy, it's fast. So they
Fast, painless abortions. Those
Promoting
kind of ad
abortion.
is everywhere in China, even near the school.
And then
And
ask a
on the
woman that
bus.
had one if it was fast, painless,
Well,
and easy.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about abortion. Okay. I read in the past 30 years, during the time of family planning policy, there were, this is a government number actually, 400 million less children born. Okay, so that it doesn't say directly about abortion, but another number, December 30th, 2014, from Ministry of Health in China. Every year there are 16 million children born. Every year there are 13 million abortions.
So 60 million born, 13 million
abortions.
aborted. Now, what's interesting about this, and I might just flip the camera just to kind of be part of the conversation. There we go. Is we did the video, as Melody knows, with my daughter, and then I shared with her these numbers about abortion. And I was talking to her from college, and she was on the phone, and she said, Mom, I can't believe how many abortions took place then and now. And she was real quiet, and she was on speaker, and my husband was sitting next to me, and she said, I'm so thankful that my birth mother gave me life. So she said, I never thought I wanted to meet her. I mean, this is just something she's struggled with, but she said, I'd love to be able to thank her for giving me life. Now, I was so moved by that. I since went on a website called China's Children, and some of these adoptees were talking about adoptive parents and adoptees that were talking about life like that. And they said, wait a minute, she didn't have a choice to have an abortion. She got lucky she didn't have an abortion. It wasn't that she made a choice not to have an abortion. So my question to you is, I mean, could women choose to abort, or were they just told, you've got too many children, you're going to abort?
Well, in the beginning, it was a choice. And afterwards, it get tighter and tighter.
Okay, I'm trying to flip the camera again. We're live here, so Melody's going to help me. I don't. We
sorry.
apologize for the technical
sorry.
difficulties. There we go. I won't flip it again. I will stay on you all.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay, so live feed right now, so we apologize for the technical difficulties. But Melody was commenting on this issue that these adoptees got so angry when someone said, I'm so glad my birth mother didn't abort me, that most of the women didn't have a choice.
Yeah. Well, if you read some of the slogans in our page, you will see there's a consequence. If you have more than one child, they
could
will
lose your
recommend.
house or-
They recommend you use some kind of way to stop getting pregnant, right? If you have second one, a lot of areas force you. A lot of places, the hospitals, they will automatically.
We're back. We are live.
So did you mean, Melody, they would force sterilization, or when she was in the hospital, they would force the abortion and kill the baby?
Both. Actually, it happened both. It's not everywhere, but I heard so many stories like that. And then also, before this even happened, there are rules in place telling people and scare people. If you give birth more than one or two, and if you don't have a quota, we actually have a quota. You have to be approved to have a quota
Right, I remember
before you
that.
get married, before you get pregnant. So if you don't have a quota, you have children. It's all against the law, and the consequence is if you work for the government, you lose the job. If you're in the countryside and they will come to you, whatever important to you, they take it away. Like the house, they turn down the house, take off the roof, and then there's one of slogans said, if you give birth to more children, they will take your house, take your cow. Because in certain area in
The
the
cow is so
countryside,
sacred.
the farmers,
Right.
that cow is the assets. And
Exactly.
then there are a lot of people, parents try, they run away, right? And then if you run away, they'll take away all your things. First, second of all, it's really, really worst thing. They will take your parents, grandparents, and arrest them.
They'll arrest the
put- yeah,
grandparents.
Yeah, and put them.
If you don't
in a
adhere-
place in jail, and let them tell you, come home, get your parents, get your grandparents.
and you have
It's
to.
very, very
So
severe.
the pressure to abort is great.
Yeah, and
because-
there are forced abortion happening at that
Yeah.
time too.
So these young people were right to say, how dare you say my birth mother decided to keep me, that most of them didn't have a choice. But a lot of these people are saying that this is so hard to believe, and they feel this is very informative. We're getting a lot of comments.
Let me explain a little bit about the living conditions or situation for the birth parents. A majority of the birth parents we guess they are probably living in the countryside, farmers, and the countryside villages are very close community, right? Like everybody knows everybody.
Right.
So to have a son is very, very crucial, because if you have a son, when you get older, you pass down everything to the son, and
And the
then you
name.
live with the son and his wife, and they take care of you. That's very important. That's very important. And then if you don't have a son, you don't have that. And your girl will marry someone else to live with someone
And then
else's
she'll
family.
take care of their family, right? Their husband's
Yeah. So
family.
you will end up have no family. Nobody take care of you, and there's no social security, no such a system.
Right.
You have you just cannot take care of yourself.
Right.
And didn't you say it's a pride thing too, because these villages are so close in such a community that the father, like if you had a girl, like they wouldn't even lift their head up, because to have a boy means status.
Yeah, if you don't have a boy, that means your family name will not pass down. That's just the pride part, but there's practical part too, which is if you have a fight, you have some kind of conflict about the border of your land or your house or whatever animal, or your crops, anything. If you have a fight, you don't have a son, you get beat up for sure.
So
Or
it's
one son or two.
safety
So
and-
the more sons, the stronger
Right.
you are in that kind of community. So having son is very, very crucial. And just for the government all of a sudden say, do not have more than one child, is not acceptable. That's why so many people try to have a son after they have a
So a lot of these adoptive girls have probably an older sister,
Sibling,
an
yes,
older
that's what we
sibling.
found out,
And
yeah.
what is happening, and is amazing, I just saw this online today too, is doing these DNA tests. They're finding siblings in this country, relatives that they didn't know were here, through 23andMe, because so they maybe kept the first girl, tried for a boy, had a girl,
gave
had to
that
give
one
up
up.
the girl,
To try
and then
another boy,
try
yeah,
again for the
yeah,
boy. Now, some people are saying, how do adoptive parents not already know all this? But I think you're bringing up details
I think-
from the government point of view.
I think it's one thing about reading it. Yeah, I'm sure you read it somewhere.
I did. I read it somewhere.
That's what I found out when I talked to one of our adoptee. She was shocked.
I think
because
this is-
I bring the situation alive by talking as someone lives through it, right? Like I like those slogans right now. Everybody look at them, think they're cool.
Right.
They're kind of funny, and they're just. It's out of this world why people talk like that. But I remember living through those time, and and accepting all of them. So,
Right.
yes, we have too many people. Yes, we don't have enough housing. Yes, we don't have enough
So
schools.
that's how the government, the people
Right.
justify it, is
Yeah.
that for the good of the country, we have to do it.
But I feel that for the adoptive parents out there, I want to speak. I would love to have this knowledge from Melody to further explain it to my daughters. I think those of us that adopted, we've done as much research and reading we can. But how do we communicate that and really get the 16 and 17 and 18-year-old to know that, the ones that are questioning, why was I abandoned? Why?
All right. This is a live event, so we just got interrupted again. We're hoping everybody sees us on Facebook because apparently some people are not. So we are live again, and we were talking about how important it is to explain to our children about the one-child policy. And Jennifer shared her story. My story is a little different. What I used to say to my kids, they were left to be found, and that's another thing we always said, left to be found. Never used the word abandoned until my daughter in the video said, I was abandoned, these kids were abandoned, we all share that abandonment, and it was like a bad word.
Actually, you know, our children can take more than our
They
parents
can,
can
absolutely.
understand. That this actually is a part of the realization I have. Like, we need to give our children or adoptee,
Real facts.
the real thing. You need to give them the real thing so they will understand what
Right.
was it, what was it like there.
So what I would say to them is, your birth mother left you at 2 months old. So I
Take a
but
phone.
we are interrupted as people try to contact Melody. So we're hoping you contact us through the Facebook and
Yes.
not by phone.
Yes.
So, but anyway, I said to my children, you were left at 2 months old. Can you imagine your birth mother? Most babies were left much younger. She tried to keep you and your birth father. She was very brave, as I can see it. So they accepted that. And they would repeat back to me like little parrots, my birth parents were so brave because they kept us for 2 months. And
Did that work as they got older?
you know, I think they do, and they'd say the Chinese government, the one-child policy. I was very clear on the one-child policy. Even as babies, I'd say the government wouldn't let your birth mother keep you. They can only have one child, so they may have already had a child. Just very honest about it. And they seem to accept it. And now, as we did the video, my daughter had to walk down this road. She said, I don't feel there's a missing piece. There are missing parts to my story, but I don't feel it's a missing piece. And as I repeat that, Melody, you said, maybe she hasn't faced it yet, but she does say there are missing parts. It's just that I don't think she feels a void right now.
As our adopted parents, you need to let our children have that right. You know, somehow you try to give them the best you can give, and then they feel like wrong to say.
Right.
Well, they try
They
to
don't wanna-
please you.
right,
Yeah,
they don't wanna hurt
so
our
actually,
feelings.
you know, what they have inside is different than what they tell you.
I do think you're right.
Yeah,
I do
so
think you're right.
I do want to tell our children this. This happened 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and it's a wrong thing to do. And it is a wrong thing for China, for Chinese people to realize as well, because that one-child family planning policy actually does not work. We're facing big-time trouble, like not enough labor force, and the economic growth cannot continue, all kinds of trouble. That's why the government changed it, right? But like our children are the result of that.
Well, I think our children here are facing a crisis. Like you said, Melody was almost personally brought 4,000 children here from Children's Hope from China. And that was such a great resource when they were little. But now we need to ask Melody to help these, because I do feel some of these girls, we've lost girls to suicide. We've had girls go in counseling, and Emma is very transparent. She has struggled with that, and I've sent her to a counselor. And just being able to be here with Melody and talk to Melody and share that with Emma about the abortion and about the one rule, she was just like, wow, I didn't know that, because I think our girls are telling themselves stories, and I think they need the facts, because I think they think, some of them think it's darker. Now, polar opposites, my Lily, she has no question, she's fine. But Emma is more of a curious, almost like a journalist.
Well, and when they're fine, as my daughters appear to be fine with it all, it's just that they all have their own process of processing it. And going back certainly triggers. I do recommend them going back and volunteering at Alina's home, as my daughter did, because I think it got her thinking. But they all are going to come to that point, as you said, when they're ready.
Yeah, I think what we need to do as parents or as agencies, we want to give them the true fact, which might not be pretty. Growing up, like parents give them the best. Even the story you just told, like it's a wonderful story, but it can only go so far. The children, they want to know the truth. They want to know the facts, and I am ready to give them the hard facts. And I do want to say this though, like out of the 400 million children, like didn't get born, or the 13 million children get aborted every year. We have 150,000 children adopted by Westerners, by Western parents, loving parents. Yeah, you do the calculation, how precious that number is. So these children, I'm talking to the adoptees.
They need to
You
know
are
that.
They're our
precious.
gift.
You are special
Yes.
because God chose so many people to save your life. And if you have struggle, you have issues, talk to us, talk to your parents, and talk to anybody can help you.
I have to say,
That's what I
tonight
want. Yeah.
I called my daughter because she's going to be 21 tomorrow, and she's in London, so I woke her up. And the one thing I said, I'm going to flip it, but I hope I can flip it back to Melody because you'd much rather look at Melody. So the one thing I said to her was, I want to thank God for you, thank the Chinese government for you, anybody that had anything to do with you, your birth mother, your birth father, and Melody, Children's Hope. And she goes, Mom, are you done? And I said, no. I thank everyone who brought you here to me, who first of all brought you to life on today, April 5th, which it's now where she is. It was April 5th, and her twin sister, that God allowed her to live, allowed her to come to this country. That isn't a mistake. That was a plan. And I know that I tell them all the time, oh, the plans I have for you, God says. And that was the plan, to be my daughter. And her birthday, 21, Olivia and Isabella, 21 today, April 5th. We're close enough. So I did thank the Chinese government, though, because their loss was my blessing. And I'm sure Jennifer feels the same way. And I'm going to flip it back to Melody.
I think our time probably get close. I want to say, even though all of these events or the policies seem such a big deal and big thing, and they kind of shaped our children's fate, and that brings them coming here across the ocean like you normally will never happen. But those are not the real reason. Those are not the real force or power to control your fate. Or there is someone love you so much, and that he orchestrated this whole symphony, and he wrote your life story from the beginning. It's not end yet. So like we cannot wait to see the story of this 150,000 adoptees, and it's going to be a beautiful one, and you are so loved. I
So
just
well
want to end
said.
with this. Yeah.
So well said. So we're going to flip the camera so we can all say goodbye. Oh, did we
Goodbye.
do it? No, sorry, live.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.